Hey everyone, welcome back to the Soundbyte. My name is Andrew, and today we're going to be jumping back into some Led Zeppelin again, continuing on with the first album. I'm going to go through the entire album, if you haven't sort of figured that out by now, and kind of really sort of jump right into the belly of the beast, so to speak, and get really familiar with the band a bit more, because it's not really a band that I've listened to a whole lot. I've heard, a few songs here and there and stuff that I've mentioned before. But not really sort of taking the time to really kind of invest a lot of time and really sort of get to know the band and their music and stuff. Obviously everyone knows who Led Zeppelin is. I think you'd be living under a rock if you don't know who they are, even if you're, as some young kid or teenager or whatever, you must have heard Led Zeppelin, the name, or one of their songs somewhere. It's one of those bands that kind of is so massive, so big, that's kind of just part of pop culture, I guess, at this point. So we're going to jump back into the first album, 1969. It's a second track called Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, which is a 6.5 minute song. So it's a bit of a longer one. It's one of the longer ones on the album by the looks of it. The last one that I did, which was the opening track, Good Times, Bad Times, had a lot of groove to it. I kind of felt it was a bit short. But it was a good opening track, a good sort of starting point. So now we're getting into a bit more of the longer stuff, and let's see what this is like, and whether it's it rocks hard or whether it's a mellow song. I don't know. The song title doesn't sound familiar to me. So let's get right into it. Babe, I'm going to Leave You by Led Zeppelin. Already that melody sounds a little familiar.
Baby, 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 I'm gonna leave you. I said, baby, you know I'm gonna leave you. Leave you when the summertime, leave you when the summer comes rolling, leave you when the summer comes along.
Sounds like a lot of acoustic guitars going on here.
To ramble
On.
Oh yeah, baby, baby, I will be there. Really got to ramble. I can hear it calling me the way it used to do. I can hear it calling me back home.
Okay, just pause it right there. This sounds like a lot of acoustic guitars are going on, like multiple acoustic guitars happening. Was there a sort of a subtle electric guitar in there though as well, or was it just sort of like an acoustic plugged in, which I guess is sort of technically a electric guitar? Let me know either way. But it sounds like it's all kind of mostly acoustic guitars that's happening. Robert Plant seems to be leading the way in this track, as he does in a lot of his songs, I guess, or the ones that I've heard anyway. Robert Plant, obviously one of the most iconic frontmen. Again, one of those frontmen that kind of has become, almost an entity on its own, apart, outside of Led Zeppelin, and kind of, yeah, like I said, legendary and iconic and stuff. It's one of those things as well, like, speaking of frontmen, because there has been so many great frontmen over the years in rock bands and metal bands and stuff. And it doesn't seem like a lot of that is a thing anymore these days. I could be wrong, maybe I haven't heard the right bands or whatever that's happening at the moment, where the frontman sort of is leading the way and also becoming a bit of a bit of a personality on their own. When you talk about frontmen in the past, like your Robert Plants and your Ozzy Osbournes, and a bit later on Axl Rose and those kind of people, Kurt Cobain and so on and so forth and stuff, and it just seems like at the moment, when you think about frontmen now, today in 2025, it's like, who are they, in the rock and metal genres? So that's another thing that I've noticed as well over the years, is like the frontman sort of position or whatever, it seems to have just sort of disappeared slowly over time, which is a bit of a sad thing. Yeah, so anyway, it's an interesting track so far. Definitely a bit more mellower, but that's, I think, a lot of because of the acoustic guitars that's happening. But yeah, let's listen to the rest of the song. Yeah, interesting. That familiar sort of melody with the acoustic guitar reminds me of another band, actually.
I never, 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 never gonna leave you, babe. And I gotta go away from this place. I gotta quit you, yeah. Oh, baby, 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 baby,
Kind of ebbs and flows a lot, kind of goes quiet, then sort of louder, and back and forth kind of thing.
Feels good to have you back again, and I know that one day, baby, you'll really grow. Yes, it is. We're gonna go walking through the park every day. On my bed, every day. Oh, my bed. I'm gonna leave you go away. Sweet baby. It was really, really good.
Yeah, like I said, the back and forth thing seems to be a common thing here in this song, as sort of a recurring theme. But again, talking about sort of influences and stuff, that was something that became a thing, certainly in the 90s at the very least, by a lot of bands who kind of started to do that kind of those contrasts between like the verses and the choruses, the sort of mellow and sort of heavier parts, and vice versa. I do wonder now if Led Zeppelin kind of were one of the first to do that kind of a thing here, because I'm sure like back in the sort of like earlier part of the 60s and before that, that was probably not as common, unless into like at least rock and roll kind of stuff, not a lot of variances or dynamics in the songs. It's kind of just straight to the point, kind of thing. And I think maybe, I don't know, Zeppelin, like certainly the Beatles certainly were one of the pioneers of that, I guess, to some extent. But I wonder if Led Zeppelin kind of took it bull by the horn, so to speak, and kind of ran with it because that seems to be a thing where they do a lot of mellow stuff and then kind of go with a heavier thing within the song, you know. So a lot of good dynamics, which is keeps it interesting as well at the same time.
Made me happy every single day. But now I've got to go
I mean, it's a catchy sort of like melody to it, you know.
That's when it's calling me. I said that's when it's calling me back
Well, it gets really quiet there, doesn't it? So you can hear like everything, and I do wonder if they had to be really, really quiet in the studio when they were recording that. Um, Unless they're in this sort of like soundproof booth or whatever when they did it, which I guess that doesn't matter as much. But yeah, I don't know what the recording techniques were like back then, whether they had sort of, you know, proper professional sort of like studios like they do now. But whatever it was, it certainly works. And it's very dynamic, the song, like I said. And like I quickly mentioned sort of halfway through the song as well, that and also in the beginning of the track, that there was that sort of familiarity with that sort of melody that was happening with the guitars there. And I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe I've heard this song before, or maybe it was another Led Zeppelin song that I'd heard. And then I just realized actually it's a Status Quo song. I forget which one it was, but for those who know Status Quo, they're obviously a British rock band from the 70s. They started in the 70s, I guess. And there's another one that I kind of grew up listening to a little bit as well. Again, like The Sweet was one of those bands that I listened to like maybe one or two albums, I think, and then that was it. But yeah, there's certainly a familiarity there, and I'm sure Status Quo probably were influenced by Led Zeppelin as well, you know, so like many bands. But there you go. That's Babe, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to take a wild guess and say just from a lyrical standpoint, it's probably a breakup song or something. By just the title alone, I didn't really pay much attention to the vocals, even though I was listening to Robert Plant. You know, his vocals. But the lyrics, is, like I said in numerous videos as well, I just don't really pay much attention to the lyrics when I listen to, especially for songs that I'm listening to for the first time. It's just not on my radar. I'm listening to all the music, and what I'm hearing from this song is just a lot of the acoustic stuff going on. You know, obviously Jimmy Page doing his thing and stuff like that. So that's what I'm hearing. That's going through my head, and the lyrics are just not even like there. I have no idea what he was talking about, but just based on the title, I assume it's some kind of breakup or relationship song or something like that. So, there you go. Shoot, Babe, I'm gonna leave you with from Led Zeppelin, 1969 off their debut album, also known as Led Zeppelin 1. So like I said before, I'm going to be going through the entire album on this one. So all the tracks on here right up to the very end, 9 tracks in total. So bit by bit we'll go through it, and then I'll sort of come back and I'll have a bit of an overview of the entire album, I guess, and sort of yeah, it's just one of those bands that kind of just they were there, but I just never really sort of sat down and listened to them, and I never really owned any of their records or anything like that, you know. So anyway, thank you for tuning in as always. Thank you for those who have subscribed. If you haven't, please subscribe. It all helps with the channel and stuff like that. Especially if you like the content and all that kind of thing. Especially if you're a Zeppelin fan, we'll be doing a lot more Led Zeppelin. Definitely, we're going to go down that rabbit hole for sure. So thank you for supporting, and I'll see you in the next video.